Fans were not informed of Cindy Williams' last illness. She abruptly cancelled performances. Nobody realized she was dead for 5 days following her passing. Now, terrible information regarding those final months has been revealed by her sister. What actually transpired behind closed doors is being revealed by her. The reality of Cindy's medical care will astound you. Hollywood was aware of the problems. However, nobody anticipated the severity of it. Your heart will be broken by the details. Cindy Williams was born in Van Nuys, Los Angeles, on August 22, 1947. While her father, Ashard Bill Williams, worked in an electronics company, her mother, Francesca, was a waitress who put in long hours. Money was never plenty. Cindy's upbringing was influenced by migration and hardship. The family moved to Dallas when she was just 1 year old. At 10, they went back to Los Angeles. Because she had to start over every time due to these changes, she became more adaptive. Additionally, it helped her learn how to quickly connect with people, which would be useful in the entertainment industry. She wasn't the only one. She was close to her mom's first marriage's half-brother, Jim, and her younger sister, Carol Ann. Their living conditions could be described as decreased. Cindy was accustomed to using what little she had and wore hand-me-downs. Her brown hair, blue eyes, and sense of humor helped her deal with her father's drinking. Although he may be erratic, his imitation of Milton Berle and Jackie Gleason frequently made her giggle. She was unable to forget such events. Comedy was a sense of security. She turned to church as an escape. She felt safe at Sunday school, away from the turmoil at home. While she was there, she performed in small plays and even had a dream that she may be discovered by Debbie Reynolds. Even though she felt little at home, Cindy subsequently claimed that performing gave her a sense of strength. She participated in theater shows at school, and her timing and facial expressions won her teachers. She was classmates with Sally Field when she graduated from Birmingham High School in 1965. Cindy was now getting ready, not simply daydreaming. Following high school, she attended Los Angeles City College to study theater. It was hardly a glitzy affair. She worked as a server to make ends meet, frequently taking late shifts and going to auditions during the day. She survived on 4 to 5 hours of sleep and, before landing her first national ad, kept a journal in which she recorded 157 unsuccessful auditions. She didn't get her big break right away. She spent years living in a small Hollywood apartment for $175 a month, often barely making ends meet. But she persisted. By 1969, changes were starting to occur. A Foster Grant sunglasses commercial caught her attention. TWA Airlines and other companies followed, which paid the expenses and gave her a TV appearance. Room 222 and Love American Style were among the shows in which she appeared in modest roles. However, they were never the leads. She was the neighbor or the girlfriend all the time. Every part, however, was a step forward. And then the event she would never forget. In 1970, she was required to dance with Gene Kelly while working on a variety show called The Funny Side. Mid-spin, she trod on his foot out of nervousness. He performed the number flawlessly, never letting it show. When they performed together again years later, she stepped on his foot once more. He simply chuckled and remarked, "Kid, nothing has changed." That sort of appeal, authentic, untidy, and a touch unsteady, become a signature for her. The actor admitted her into Studio West in 1971. Although she couldn't routinely come due to her busy schedule, it was a great honor. At this point, she began to attract the attention of more well-known people. She was chosen for Travels with My Aunt in 1972 after renowned director George Cukor watched her in a short play. Abruptly, she and Maggie Smith appeared on screen. And being employed by a man who had influenced Katharine Hepburn and other celebrities. Her big break came in 1973 when she was chosen to play Laurie Henderson in the low-budget movie American Graffiti, which was directed by George Lucas and focused on 1960s youths. Although it only cost $777,000 to produce, nobody anticipated that the film would go on to become a classic. Williams' role as Ron Howard's girlfriend was more than simply a cameo. She subsequently stated that she had just left her actual heartbreak. Her partner told her they should see other people, so he left her for someone else. Her character had genuine emotion because of that anguish, and it was evident. The dance scene with Howard, where they argue under their breath about smoke gets in your eyes while grinning for the audience, turned into one of the movie's most impactful scenes. Lucas even changed some of the screenplay to give her greater nuance. In contrast to many of her co-stars, Williams was seasoned. She had appeared in Travels with My Aunt, which was directed by the renowned George Cukor, only a year prior. However, American Graffiti was unique. A remarkable honor for someone so young in her career, it led to her being nominated for Best Supporting Actress at the 1975 BAFTA Awards. She did not prevail. To Ingrid Bergman, that was given. However, it meant the world to be nominated with a legend like that. To get there, Williams had put forth a lot of effort. She had gone from being a waitress to appearing in a movie that helped establish her career. Richard Dreyfuss, Harrison Ford, and Ron Howard are all future celebrities. There had been a frantic casting process. More than 100 unidentified performers, including a teenage Mark Hamill, had tried out. However, it was producer Fred Roos, who had worked on The Godfather, who had faith in her. It was a wise belief. Beyond the movie, she developed a close relationship with the American Graffiti Ensemble. Something unexpected happened because she and Ron Howard had a natural chemistry. Howard was Richie Cunningham on Happy Days in 1975. That one appearance revolutionized her life, and he secured her a guest spot. Their chemistry was evident on television when they were paired with Penny Marshall. As soon as Gary Marshall saw it, he launched Shirley and Laverne. Although Penny and Cindy were well known, the show rose to the top of the American ratings charts. They were already good friends, having met years earlier on a different shoot. Additionally, American Graffiti introduced her to Harrison Ford, who at the time was still employed as a carpenter. He was persuaded by Fred Roos to portray the cool, defiant Bob Falfa. In Coppola's upcoming major motion picture, their paths would recross. Yes, Williams was cast in The Conversation in 1974 by Francis Ford Coppola after she appeared in American Graffiti. He was developing the Godfather saga at the same time. She co-starred in The Conversation with Terry Garr, John Cazale, Gene Hackman, and a young Harrison Ford. Even Robert Duvall had an uncredited role. It was a surveillance and paranoia picture that took home the Cannes Picture Festival's top prize. Despite having a $1.6 million budget, the movie made $4.8 million and received 3 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. Later, Williams discussed the distinction between Coppola and Lucas. Lucas was reserved and succinct, frequently simply stating, "Great" following a take. Conversely, Coppola exuded enthusiasm and was always complimenting his performers and soliciting their feedback. Her life was altered by both directors in distinct ways, but an odd event still occurred. Following her roles in 3 consecutive critically acclaimed films, Travels with My Aunt, American Graffiti, and The Conversation, her career came to a standstill. It was nonsensical. She wasn't receiving huge movie roles, but she was too famous to return to waitressing. To pass the time, she began writing with Penny Marshall. They were among the few female writers employed by Francis Ford Coppola's Zoetrope Productions for a meager $30 a week. Nobody thought much of it at the time. They were just 2 women attempting to succeed in the film industry. But a significant event occurred. A close creative connection was formed between them when they were writing together. They learned how to exchange ideas, crack jokes, and, without ever recognizing it, develop the synergy that would eventually characterize their careers. And then, in late 1975, everything was different. Just one phone call away. The author of Happy Days and Penny's brother, Gary Marshall, called them unexpectedly while they were working on a script. To play 2 girls going on a double date with Fonzie and Richie, he requested that they take a week off. Williams recalled giggling when Gary referred to the characters as the Fleet's dating gals. "Bookers, this will be entertaining," she joked. They were unconcerned about it. It was only a single episode, a meager small role, and a speedy paycheck. They replied, "Sure." Unaware that they were going to alter television history, they entered Paramount Studios on November 11, 1975. On January 27, 1976, fans fell in love with the 2 Milwaukee girls the moment the episode aired. The charming Shirley was portrayed by Williams. The tough one, Laverne, was portrayed by Marshall. Fonzie calls Laverne and Shirley for a double date in the episode after Richie asks for assistance following a breakup. It was that easy to set up. However, viewers were unable to get enough. Something that began as a little joke became a sensation. When ABC recognized the potential, they promptly cleaned up that version, even though Penny later claimed that they were supposed to be the females who released. The chemistry between them was intense behind the scenes. Everybody took notice. The producers, the live audience, and the crew. No one could overlook it. In one amusing blooper, Tom Bosley, who portrayed Mr. Cunningham, is seen standing behind a door, fully visible through the window, waiting for his cue. However, neither Richie nor Fonzie were in the spotlight anymore. Something had changed. The scene was stolen by these two ladies. They received another contact from Gary Marshall's office just 2 weeks later. Executives from ABC had witnessed the episode. More guest appearances were not what they desired. A full display was what they desired. Penny and Cindy were completely unaware of the concept of a spin-off. They had to inquire. They only knew that a significant event was taking place. Acting was only one aspect of their bond. It felt like telepathy, Williams remarked. They didn't have to practice much. They were just aware of each other's intentions. Williams constantly studied her texts to the very last minute, taking them seriously. Marshall was the opposite. She nailed it, even hardly consulting the script. She could light up, joke around, and be all set to go. Somehow, it succeeded. Their partnership grew stronger as a result of their differences. She was able to get into the next big project simply because she and Perry Marshall got along. On January 27, 1976, Laverne and Shirley appeared on television. It exploded within months. By the fall of that year, it accomplished the unthinkable. It had higher ratings than Happy Days. At its height, it was viewed weekly by almost 60 million people. Cindy, who gained notoriety from American Graffiti, became well known. Every living room had her face, as well as periodicals and lunchboxes. Playgrounds all around America began using Schlemiel, Schlemazel, Hasenpfeffer, incorporated as the introductory chant. Her earnings per episode were $30,000 by 1979. Back then, that was a huge sum of money for any actress. She created Shirley Feeney, not simply portrayed her. Shirley got that apprehensive laugh from Cindy. Before the first episode was ever filmed, she practiced for weeks. She pondered the identity of Shirley. She even maintained private diaries while playing the role. Cindy came up with the notion of dressing Shirley in clean, tidy clothes and giving her stuffed animals like Boo Boo Kitty. The whole show was made to stand out by the contrast with Laverne's tomboy appearance. By 1979, women were requesting the Shirley haircut as they entered salons. Cindy received more than 1,500 fan mails each week. It wasn't just Shirley that people liked. They sensed her presence. However, beneath the kind words and charming smile was a difficult person. Cindy did nearly all of her own stunts. The physical humor was serious. She had to perform 37 takes of bottle wrestling on a conveyor belt in one 1978 program. She continued despite suffering 3 bruised ribs. She performed the splits on camera for the 1977 roller skating scenes without any prior skating experience. While filming skiing scenes in the bitter cold for hours, she even suffered frostbite. Before the event began, she received training from vaudeville performers. At one point, she and Penny Marshall spent more than 50 hours on a 3-minute performance. She was dubbed the female Buster Keaton for her daring antics. In January 1978, her work received significant attention. The Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Comedy was Cindy's nomination. She faced legendary people like Jean Stapleton and Carol Burnett. It altered everything, even though she didn't win. She was now viewed by others in the industry as more than half of a team. Studios gave her leading roles, greater money, big deals, and creative autonomy. They were all rejected by her. She continued to be devoted to Shirley and Laverne. In unexpected ways, her loyalty paid off. She had greater authority than the majority of actresses in that age. Because of her contract. But then things began to go wrong. The show relocated to California from Milwaukee in 1980. Jobs at the brewery were gone. The magic was the same way. Gary Marshall allegedly attempted to force her to leave because she was pregnant, according to her lawsuit. The studio, she said it would make room for her. They promised to give her the full $75,000 each episode plus $37,500 for each rerun, included into the plot, and allow her to work safely until October. They later withdrew, though. Cindy was deceived. She was put in a precarious situation where she had to choose between her career and her child. She sued Paramount in August 1982, seeking $20 million in general damages and half in punitive damages. Although her husband was supportive, there was conflict on site because of him. Hudson made things more difficult, according to Penny Marshall, who later acknowledged that she didn't get along with him. It all came to a head quickly. Cindy made 2 appearances in season 8. Then Shirley was gone. No farewell, no send-off. She moved with her spouse, according to the message that was left behind. The audience was astonished. Even though Laverne was the only character on the show, the names Laverne and Shirley were retained. Fans who were perplexed and wanted to know where Cindy was had to deal with Penny Marshall. She referred to it as a drag. Cindy suffered a great deal when she left one of the most popular TV shows. That year, she declined a $1.65 million contract that did not include reruns. Although the litigation was eventually quietly settled, the harm had already been done. Her Hollywood future was abruptly called into question. There were rumors circulating. Some claimed that her requests were ridiculous. Some attributed it to a conflict with Penny, but Cindy remained largely silent and concentrated on her new position as a mother. There was more to Cindy Williams and Bill Hudson's May 1, 1982, wedding than meets the eye. An emotional and chaotic roller coaster began. Cindy immediately entered a complex family after Bill and Goldie Hawn's recent divorce. She became the stepmother to Oliver, age 6, and Kate Hudson, age 3, overnight. Although the family was far from picture perfect at the time, both children would go on to become well-known Hollywood stars. Deep tensions existed. From the beginning, Bill had a tense relationship with Oliver and Kate, which only got worse with time. When Oliver openly criticized his father in a Father's Day post in 2015, things went haywire. In response, Bill accused Goldie of inciting the children to oppose him. In the meantime, Goldie's long-term husband Kurt Russell grew to be more of a father figure to Kate and Oliver than Bill ever was. It produced two distinct families with little communication. Time being limited, Kate said in 2021 that she wished to get back in touch with her half-siblings. When Cindy passed away in January 2023, many people hoped that her death would somehow end the years of family silence. In 2000, Cindy and Bill's 18-year marriage came to an end. Cindy, however, had to make a decision that would change her life even before the divorce. She discovered she was carrying their daughter, Emily, in early 1982. Cindy was a major TV celebrity at the time, and Laverne and Shirley was about to enter their 7th season. As actresses sometimes hide behind furniture on set, she believed she could continue acting while pregnant. Producers, however, insisted that she continue filming until her deadline, a decision that would now generate grave legal concerns. Cindy said no. She said, "I can't sign this," after taking a glance at the contract. She left the show after just 2 episodes in the new season. In addition to costing her the Shirley Feeney job, her choice led to a $20 million lawsuit that was eventually secretly settled. Cindy retreated from the limelight after Emily was born later that year. Her departure marked a sea change in her life as well as in the way pregnant females were regarded in Hollywood. She observed that sets began introducing nurseries and providing on-site nannies years later. She became a pioneer even though it was not her intention. Cindy gave birth to her second child, William Zachary Hudson, sometimes known as Zachary or Zach, in 1986. He joined his sister Emily and his half-siblings Kate and Oliver, making their family vast and complicated. Cindy, however, made a decision. She would not raise her children in the spotlight of fame. She raised them in a calm, grounded environment, free from cameras that flashed. Zachary remained out of the spotlight. He was a rare exception in 2004, attending Cindy's Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony alongside her and Emily. He was roughly 18. In 2006, however, the situation became much more complex. Bill Hudson and his girlfriend Caroline Graham have a daughter, Lelania. As a result, Zachary and Emily had a new half-sibling. Cindy was committed to preserving her kids' privacy throughout it all. Kate Hudson, meantime, stated openly in 2021 that she wished to be nearer to her other siblings, Zachary and Emily. There was at least hope, even though it was obvious that Bill's broken relationships had left scars that had not entirely healed. Cindy had to change her work as her family grew. She sought to keep acting when she left Shirley and Laverne. It wasn't simple, though. In 1983, her first major post-sitcom endeavor was The Creature Wasn't Nice, a quirky sci-fi comedy that was also referred to as Naked Space or Spaceship. Leslie Nielsen starred in the $2 million film. Even though Cindy sung 2 songs in it, the movie was a box office failure and was re-edited several times before it was finally accepted by viewers. She then went on to make the low-budget science fiction movie Euphoria, which she had actually filmed in 1981. She portrayed Arlene, a lonely grocery store employee who has an obsession with aliens. Fred Ward and Harry Dean Stanton co-starred. However, it was shelved and wasn't released until 1985. In 1987, it limped out on VHS. It was evident that Cindy's fame was waning because these parts were very different from her primetime sitcom days. She chose to embrace the shift rather than resist it. Her priorities were family and not celebrity. When Cindy Williams left Laverne and Shirley in 1982, she intended to make a big return. Normal Life, a sitcom, was her first significant attempt in 1990. It featured Dweezil and Moon Unit, Frank Zappa's real-life children, and was based on their peculiar upbringing. Cindy was Anne Harlow's mother. A blended family attempting to navigate adolescent upheaval sounded like an intriguing concept, but viewers didn't find it compelling. Despite airing all 13 episodes from March to July on CBS, the show's ratings continued to decline. Directors were constantly changing. There was no success. What was meant to be Cindy's big comeback turned out to be a complete failure. Then she took a calculated action. She jumped into television movies rather than more sitcoms. In 1990 alone, she starred in a Perry Mason movie in Menu for Murder. She was able to display a distinct aspect in both, combining humor and drama. She was a part of Earth Angel in 1991. A fantasy TV film that once again showcased her range. Although they weren't big-budget productions, she had consistent work from these. More significantly, they allowed her time. Cindy was raising Zachary, who was born in 1986, and Emily, who was born in 1982. She was able to perform in TV films without the stress of a 9-month sitcom shoot. Although they were unglamorous, they helped her stay in the spotlight in Hollywood. Which was just what she required. Cindy attempted primetime once more in 1993. In the sitcom Getting By, she played the lead role of two single mothers, one black and one white, raising their children in Chicago. With more than 21 million viewers, it began strong as part of ABC's TGIF program. ABC, however, discontinued it after the first season. NBC took it up. However, the switch did not help. Only 5.7 million people were watching by the last episodes as ratings plummeted. Additionally, there were issues behind the scenes as Warner Brothers took over the production. Getting By was her final major appearance on a network sitcom, ending in 1994 after only 31 episodes. Her days as a primetime celebrity had subtly diminished. When the new millennium arrived, Cindy made a radical change. She participated in the outrageous comedy program Strip Mall on Comedy Central in 2000. It was boisterous, provocative, and rife with Hollywood parody. In a daring move for someone known for family-friendly television, Cindy played a version of herself. Although she only appeared in 6 episodes of the short-lived sitcom, it made a statement. She was able to make fun of herself. She was demonstrating to the world at 53 that she was not mired in the past. She had the capacity to change and the courage to take chances that most of her contemporaries wouldn't. Fans, however, were still hoping to experience the same magic. It was acquired in 2002. For the first time in almost 2 decades, ABC reunited the original cast with Laverne and Shirley. A total of 17.5 million people watched. When Cindy and Penny Marshall hugged on camera, releasing years of stress, it was the most touching moment. After becoming pregnant and leaving the first program, Cindy and Penny had a rough breakup. However, they made amends when they reunited. Bloopers, sketches, and tributes to deceased cast members were all included. It served as a reminder to everyone of how adored those actresses and characters truly were. Then, in 2004, Cindy surprised everyone once more. In Law & Order, SVU, she played a grandmother who was concealing the abuse of her son-in-law. It was a somber, unsettling, and realistic episode. There were more than 15 million viewers. Cindy gave a silent, eerie performance that was acclaimed by critics. She had researched courtrooms and interviewed psychiatrists simply to learn what a predator's mentality would be like. She was deemed deserving of an Emmy nomination. Even after 3 decades of fame, she was still developing as an actress, as seen by one of her most unvarnished parts. She returned to performing on stage and in theaters across the United States between 2006 and 2014. She played in 42 cities 267 times. She starred in Nonsense for more than a year in 2007 and took home the Best Actress in a Touring Production Award. She played a clairvoyant in the 2009 production of Blithe Spirit in Pasadena, and she didn't miss a single show. She went on tour with her ex-co-star Eddie Mecca as well. Lunch Hour is a romantic comedy film. In 2015, when she was 64, she wrote it all down. In its first month of release, her memoir Shirley, I Just Sold 48,000 copies and peaked at number 7 on the Los Angeles Times bestseller list. She discussed the negative aspects of Hollywood within. 6 weeks after giving birth, studio officials pushed her to shoot, she disclosed. She also acknowledged that scheduling prevented her from accepting Jaws 2 an airplane. The book detailed her lengthy struggle with melancholy following the cancellation of her program, as well as her brief liaison with Andy Kaufman. During her 15-city book tour, she visited admirers and even took the original Schlemmel sweatshirt along. It was more than a career summary in the memoir. That was how she corrected the record. At the age of 71, she made a comeback to the film industry in 2018 with Still Waiting in the Wings, a modest independent film about struggling New York performers. She had a deep affection for the story. In the past, Cindy had pursued her aspirations while working as a waitress. This time around, she brought humor and passion to a younger audience by co-starring with icons like Ed Asner and Cheetah Rivera. The film took home 5 accolades. Even in her 70s, she was still turning up on set prepared to work and coaching newcomers. However, Penny Marshall's romance remained at the core of her story over all these years. It was pride and anguish that had shattered their friendship. After being forced to leave the studio, Cindy felt abandoned. Finished the play without her and felt lonely. They were silent for 15 years. Then, in 1997, Penny answered the phone following the dissolution of her marriage. They wept. They showed forgiveness. Then they began anew. In 2012, they made an appearance on Good Morning America Reunited, sharing laughs with their former co-stars. They later collaborated on a cameo appearance on Sam and Cat, where they parodied their history. It was therapeutic, not merely a reunion. Cindy Williams experienced a transformation towards the end of 2022. Although she didn't want the world to know, her health began to deteriorate. She kept her problems to herself, as she had done throughout her life. She didn't announce anything major. She had no desire for pity. Rather, she subtly stepped back from the limelight. She started canceling appearances for her one-woman show, Me, Myself, and Shirley, by November, as her close friends and family noticed. Fans in the US were thrilled to see her, and the performance had been performing well. Cindy was dealing with a major issue behind the scenes, though. The extent of it was only known to her children and a select group of reliable acquaintances. She did not want it to be covered by the media. Her illness was not going to overshadow her career. Despite receiving treatment, she continued to read screenplays and consider upcoming opportunities. That was who she was, a person who loved her job and never wavered in her commitment. Her anonymity was safeguarded by her group. Reporters merely responded that she was taking time to relax and recuperate when they questioned her. They avoided drawing attention to her illness so she could spend her last days with her loved ones, where it was most important. Early in January 2023, things started to change. Her health deteriorated, but no public statements were made. Cindy wished to avoid being seen. Peace was all she wanted. Cindy passed away in Los Angeles on January 25, 2023. 75 was her age. Her family took a while to make the announcement. They waited for 5 days. Her kids, Zach and Emily Hudson, broke the news in a statement on January 30 via Liza Cronies, a family spokesperson. They stated that we have experienced unfathomable grief that is impossible to adequately convey after the death of our loving, humorous mother, Cindy Williams. We have enjoyed and been privileged to know and love her. Everyone adored her because she was unique, gorgeous, giving, and had a sparkling spirit and a great sense of humor. The timing has an incredibly poignant quality to it. 5 years after the death of her longtime friend and co-star of Laverne and Shirley, Penny Marshall, Cindy passed away. At 75, Penny had also passed away. Their careers had been intertwined since December 2018 due to difficulties arising from diabetes, and now they were concluding their chapters.